And I just want to thank you so very much for tuning in tonight. Listen, this show is the greatest because of you. And I thank you so much for telling all your friends about us. Because, we don't bring you no bad news. We only talk about good news. Because this is a good news show. A happy show. We have good music and we talk about good things. And tonight, we have with us our distinguished guest, Congressman Danny Davis. Listen, you got to call a friend. You're going to tell a neighbor. You need to run right now and let everybody know they need to sit back, relax, and tune in to Mathell's Good Show. So now, with that in mind, what I want you to do, I want you to get ready, and I want you to hear what I've got a distinguished young man, because he is awesome. His name is Congressman Danny K. Davis. He is we thank God for him tonight. He is our guest tonight. And he travels around and he's in all kinds of places. But I want you to know was chosen by the people of the 7th Congressional District of Illinois as their representative in Congress on November the 5th, 1996. Congressman Danny Davis has been reelected by large majorities to succeeding Congresses. Congressman Davis is a man of excellence, a congressman that is dedicated, believes in fighting for what's right, and serving the people from all walks of life. Let's give a big round of applause right now without any further delays, and welcome to our show, Congressman Danny.
Yes.
All right. Just hang in there, everybody, because with me tonight also now, we've got with me, we don't have Van the Man with us, but we do have Julian Alexander as co-host tonight. Julian, hey, take the mic.
Well, welcome everybody to the Good News Show. It's so good to be here this evening, Mathell, with you and Congressman Davis. Just a wonderful time in store for everyone. I'm happy to be here, and I want to welcome all your audience to the Good News Show, especially having Congressman Davis here to speak to us about all the good news that he has. It's going to be a wonderful show for sure. Thank you for letting me have the opportunity to co-host with you.
You are outstanding. I'm telling you, I couldn't think of anybody else but you. All right. Welcome to the show, Congressman Danny Davis. Welcome.
Well, thank you very much, Ms. Givens and Mr. Alexander. I am so delighted to be a part of this interaction and to be greeted with such enthusiasm. And, I think part of the problem with the world, and especially as we look at the lives of African Americans, I think part of the reason that we don't make more progress is that we're not as enthusiastic as we could, should, and need to be in order to move from one level of being to another. And so if you're going to do something, I often say, do it with gusto. Do it like it's going out of style. Do it as if you can't do it. My mother used to always tell us that if a task is once begun, do it well. Be the labor great or small. Do it well or not at all. And so if you're going to do something, Do it to the best of your ability. Give it everything that you've got. And so people ask me, how do I stay enthusiastic about being engaged in public life, especially since some of them know how long I've been in public life? And I say, I remain enthusiastic because I have hope and I have faith. And I try to hold on to that hope. And I've been told that if you would have the faith of a mustard seed and say to yonder mountain, be moved, that the mountain will get out of the way. And if it does not, then get yourself an axe, some nitroglycerin, a chisel, or something, and chip away until the mountain comes down. And then if it looks like it's getting real tough, then you just say that song and sing it a little bit. Now, Lord, don't move my mountain. Just give me the strength to climb.
Okay.
Don't take away my stumbling block. Just lead me all around. And I guarantee you, if you can do that, then you will be a person who maintains happiness. You will find peace, and your life will be so meaningful until you just can't wait to wake up in the morning so you can start doing it.
Wonderful.
So much wisdom and spoken so eloquent. Oh my. Woo. Well, Congressman, we know that you're running again and you're up for re-election. And I just say it's a win-win situation, but we know we still have to do the work and make sure. So,
well, we're working hard.
Yeah,
you know?
I know
As
you
a matter
are.
of fact, I talked to a reporter from CNN earlier today, and she said, well, you know, there are some people who say that you are supported by the establishment. And I said, well, the establishment are people, and they have a right to their decisions and their opinions. And most of them probably at some point were not the establishment. They worked their way into becoming whoever they are. The governor got a lot of money, and the governor supports me, but that don't necessarily make people vote because the governor got a lot of money. The governor has a right to have an opinion, and so the governor believes that I'm the best candidate. The mayor of Chicago supports me. She believes that I'm the best candidate. The president of the Cook County Board supports me. She believes I am the best candidate. The president of the Illinois Senate supports me, Don Harmon, and he believes that I am the best candidate. The Speaker of the Illinois General Assembly supports me, and it's because they are people and they have a right to their opinions. And so if I'm their choice, they believe I'm the best candidate, then they have a right to believe that based upon what they know about me, what they know about my opponents, and what they think our state and country need. So I thank the establishment people for their endorsement and their support. And they do have a right to their opinion. You can't ice them out because the mayor of Chicago, she wasn't always the mayor of Chicago. So that was kind of my answer to the reporter. But the guy in the alley supports me also.
All right.
And he supports me because I get in the alley with him. And I give him or her the respect that they deserve as citizens of our country. And if they want to get out of the alley, I will try and help them get out of the alley. And then they become the person who was in the alley.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I help a person recover from drug use and alcoholism and being impoverished, they were drug addicts. Don't mean they have to always be drug addicts, or they always have to be unemployed, or they always have to be the person without a job. So I approach every situation on its own and try to help move the needle. And you do that by being creative, by being persuasive, and by taking risks. A lot of my colleagues don't take as much risk with helping different categories of people as I do. And part of the reason is that some of them are afraid that they will be characterized by other people as being soft on crime. And many people don't know the issue. They don't know that there are over 100 million people in our country who have records, criminal records, over 100 million. And of course, the largest percentages of those are African-American males, Black men. And if we don't do anything to help them, then all of their families are drawn down because they become a drag on their families. And so every time a family member got to go to the jail and bail somebody out, if they didn't have to do that, they could take that money and do something else with it. They could buy their babies some diapers. They could buy their babies some formula. But they decided, since their cousin Jumbo was locked up and their brother was, in the hole, and they had to try to get him out. So you can't be free unless all of us can be free. You can't be satisfied unless many of us are satisfied. And so that's what I try to do as an elected person. That's how I try to make use of myself as a politician. So some things are put on the table I am against, some things are put on the table that I am in favor of. And then you got to get 50% of other people to have majority. And in order to get something passed and agreed to, you got to have enough persuasion to do it. Sometimes I'm amused when people say, I like listening to you even when I don't agree with what you're saying. And so part of being a public person, you have to be able to convey thoughts and ideas in such a way that you get the attention of other people. You don't want to be like the guy who wanted to be a preacher, but he couldn't talk.
Well, that's a good story. I appreciate that. Since you're in that vein, I'd like to know, how do you feel about the decision that the Supreme Court made today on Roe v. Wade?
I think it is a terrible decision. And the reason I think it's a terrible decision is because I believe that each and every one of us have the God-given right to determine our health care and determine what we do. I had to take a COVID test this morning because I was going to have a little meeting with the Vice President of the United States this afternoon, which I did. And when I went to take my COVID test, I took it, but I kind of knew that the nurse was, kind of, she had something she wanted to say to me. She finally said, "Mr. Davis, did you take your blood pressure medicine this morning?" And I knew I had. And so I kind of felt like my blood pressure was up. It was. But I was the cause of it being up because I had not taken my blood pressure medicine. But I had the decision to take it or not take it. And so I had the choice. And I think people ought to have the choice. And I think women especially ought to have the choice when it comes to reproductive health to determine if whether or not they wanted to carry a group of mass of tissue through to term and give birth to another person that they may not be equipped to care for. I'm saying, if you're not equipped to care for a child, or if you don't want a child at this moment, then you ought to be able to make that determination and not have somebody else decide for you. So I disagree with the Supreme Court. When I was learning about the courts and all of that, I took the position that the Supreme Court had been able to gauge the feeling of the people and then make a legal determination about where they think the people are. And I think the Supreme Court has taken a position contrary to where the majority of the people in this country are. I think a majority of people would prefer to have choice, and the Supreme Court is limiting that choice.
Well,
and yet these are people.
Well, thank you very much for that response, Congressman Davis. That is a very strong answer and an appropriate answer for this time too. I'm not sure, but we're in a vein where we're talking about life and death decisions. Maybe you'd like to speak on your thoughts about the gun violence and gun control that happened in New York yesterday with the state of New York and the Open Carry Act.
Well, once again, I disagree. I used to think you couldn't disagree with the Supreme Court, that whatever the Supreme Court said was supreme.
Mm-hmm.
And people had enough confidence in the Supreme Court. But I know that there are people who are demonstrating. There are people who are expressing their displeasure, their disagreement with what the court has decided. I mean, why would a person be able to carry a gun like they did in the Wild West? And we went through that era. And of course, Wild Bill Hickok, we ain't Wild Bill, so we're not supposed to be. wild bills
Right.
anymore. We've gone through that stage.
Yes, sir,
I
we
mean,
have.
we
Yes,
have
sir.
a civil society
Yes, sir, we do.
that is controlled by reasonable people making rules and regulations and laws that make the most sense. And I think that's what we ought to have. There was a time when Chicago was making some very good laws relative to gun control. And the Supreme Court said, you can't do that. They said, you can't do that. I mean, I think this whole business of concealed carry as well as open carry is kind of ridiculous in a society now. And I believe in the Second Amendment, but things have changed.
Mhm.
There's not much likelihood that a bear is going to come through your back door and you need a musket to keep the bear away. No, I think we've got to fight hard. And when I say fight, I don't mean that we got to pick up a brick or we got to take a rock or we got to take a weapon. But I mean, we have to fight legally.
Yes.
And one of the best ways to fight legally is by voting
Yes.
to put into office people who think more like you do
Mhm.
than people who think the opposite of what you think.
Congressman, you make a very strong point. I know that you are not advocating violence, and I know you are advocating nonviolence. It's okay to protest as long as you are protesting in a nonviolent way. And you hit both of my topics right on the head. The Supreme Court has now said that you cannot abort a baby, but they also said that you can open carry. So now you have to worry about, will that child that you could not abort make it to recess at the end of the day?
That's
Does
right.
not that sound like an oxymoron? On one hand,
It does.
you're
It
saying,
honestly does.
yeah, I mean, on one hand, you're saying you can carry a weapon. You know, I have a grandson who was murdered. And if the other young person had not had a gun, I think my grandson would be alive.
Okay.
They knew each other. It's not like they had these long standing, they had a little club where they would swap items of clothing with each other. And you would say, look, you wear my Nikes today, and I'm going to wear your t-shirt. And then tomorrow we'll switch back up. And they were swapping clothing. And one person wanted their clothing back without giving the other clothing back. And they got into a little scuffle. And because they didn't know much about conflict resolution, they didn't know how to resolve an argument. And as they were scuffling, the other little boy's friend, who knew he had a gun, said, shoot. And so this guy pulls out his gun, and all of their lives have been disrupted. Both the fellow who shot my grandson and his friend are serving 36 years in the penitentiary. When all of the lives involved have been traumatized and disrupted. And my son asked me a question one day. He said, Daddy, could I ask you something man to man? I said, yeah. He said, did you mean what you said about the kids that shot Javon? I said, yeah, I mean it. He said, well, you're a better man than I am. Because I had explained to them that this family's lives had been disrupted as well, that their two family members would not be at the dinner table come Thanksgiving. And I felt real bad for them. And I felt terrible for them. And I knew that the criminal justice system was going to do what it is empowered to do. But I really hate to see these two kids go to the penitentiary. And of course, that's where they are now. So hopefully we can create a society where we get some of all these guns out of play. We just got too many guns floating around.
Yeah.
People have them who should not have.
Yes.
Automatic weapons should not be in the hands of anybody except law enforcement and military. And those are the feelings. And individuals should be taught as they're growing up how to resolve conflicts. They should be taught the golden rule: do unto others as you have them do unto you. And they should be taught that if somebody else, the Bible says, thou shalt not covet. And so just because somebody's driving in their Cadillac or their whatever, I ought not be coveting their Cadillac. If I want a Cadillac, wait until I get a job, work, save me enough money, earn enough money to go and buy my own Cadillac.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yes, thou should not covet thy neighbor's ox, nor his ass. The ox or the mule.
Yes.
But people covet what belongs to somebody else. I ain't never really wanted to take something that belonged to somebody else.
I think, Mathell, did you have a question for Congressman?
I'm just thinking about this gun violence too. That's in all around. Well, it's all around the world, but here in Chicago, it's just have exploded. It's just way out of hand. Every night, every day, some kid, somebody, some adult.
Poverty is a big part of it. Poverty in terms of, people want money. Even little children learn the value of things when they're very young. And if they don't have a way of getting it, then they start scheming and trying to figure out and end up being willing to do violent things. That's why the child tax credit, that we passed last year, that provided for any person in the United States of America who have a child under 6 years old, if their annual salary is $75,000 or less, the government provided for them a child tax credit benefit of $300 a month.
Yeah.
Sure did. Yes.
Any person. Mm-hmm. And if they are a two-parent family and they earn $150,000 or less, they are eligible for those same benefits.
Yeah.
Well, that's a big help, because now they've got money to buy what they need and buy what they want, and don't have to take from somebody else,
right,
or grow up thinking that they got to figure out a way to get the meager resources that they need to have just to purchase little items and thing. So we need a guaranteed income for people. The city of Chicago is trying a little experiment where they are giving some families $500 a month, but we need better than that. And we need to spread the wealth. I'm saying we have too much of our wealth in the hands of too few people.
Okay.
The 1% controls as much of the resource as 75 or 80 others in terms of percentage of the population. And so we just got too much money in the hands of too few people. And I've always tried to help bridge the gap between those up here and those down here. And every act that I can, I try to help wiggle up a little bit, wiggle down a little bit, so that the gap becomes closer.
Okay.
Rather than being up here to here, it gets down here to here. And I'm always thinking of that as we make economic decisions.
Well, Congressman, can you talk about the healthcare plan that you're supporting just a little bit?
Well, you know, health is wealth. And I approach healthcare with the idea that you can have all the money in the world, but if you're sick and don't feel good, all that money you've got is not doing for you what you need to have done.
Exactly.
And so health status is what I think we ought to change. Like there are some population groups, if you got 100 people, 50 of them might be diabetic. For example, we have some of the highest rates of diabetes in the world, right here in Chicago, among our people.
Okay.
There's one community where 1 out of every 3 people, they say, is diabetic. And of course, Black people. Not that we're not concerned about all people, because we are. But when we talk about Black people, we're either talking one extreme or the other. There are some things in our society that Black people have the most of, and that's illness, poverty, disadvantagement. Then there are other things that Black people have the least of. I'm saying the least home ownership. Black people own their homes much less than practically any other population group. And so a lot of Black people pay rent all their lives. At the end of paying rent for 50 years, the only thing they got is a drawer full of rent receipts. Because they never purchased their home. If you purchase your home, when you die, if you've got heirs, you got some to leave. You know, the singing group used to have that song, Papa was a Rolling Stone.
The Temptations.
Yeah, and they say, when he died, all he left me was alone. He didn't leave no dowry or have something. Here's a nest egg you can get started with, because he never bought a house.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And so Black wealth is way down compared to other groups because most people's wealth is in a home. A lot of Black folks, the only wealth they got is in a car. The most wealth they got is a car. And so if the car breaks down, then they ain't got no wealth.
That's right.
Because they can't drive.
That's right.
Well,
They can't go any place.
well,
Some
speaking-
people claim you're preaching when you try to help people live better. But the reason I want people to live better is because whatever they are, I am.
All
Yes.
right.
Because I cannot escape from being Black. And so whenever there's an analysis of Black people, I am counted as a part of that. And so I'm a part of it. I can't escape. And so we really, in order to progress, we have to progress as a group. We cannot progress as just one.
That's
The
true.
only thing,
Congressman, you have about 10 more minutes, and I need you to touch on education a little bit. And then we'll have to wrap it up. It's just been so, I could have had you here for another hour.
well, you know, I love education because, and I often mention education in the same vein that the fellow who really started the college that I went to, he said something about education. He said, the purpose and aim of education is to know God and the laws and purpose of his universe. And that education, Abraham Lincoln used to say, makes a man easy to lead, but difficult to drive, easy to govern, but impossible to enslave. You cannot enslave an educated person because their mind will not allow them to be enslaved. It's hard to trick an educated person. It's hard to fool an educated person. It's hard to manipulate an educated person. Little girl wrote a poem. She was 12 years old. She said, no chains on my hands, no chains on my feet, can't you see? But the chains on my mind are keeping me from being free.
Okay.
And so education, oh my God. I mean, education is so vital.
Yes.
You know, the guys on the street say, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Yes.
And so a lot of people are fooled about this voting business. Voting is the most effective way of being engaged in the overall process of decision making. Young people need to be taught to read. Everybody needs to be taught to read. Read, 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 whatever you can get your hands on. Learn what makes the world turn. And once you learn something, you pretty much got it for the rest of your life,
That's true.
for the rest of time.
That's true. Oh boy. I say, you know, you've got to come on this show again. You had nothing but good news here tonight. A lot of good information, great news. And
Well, you know what the songwriter said about good news? So good news is coming. My baby's coming home tomorrow. Ain't that good news? Yes.
I love it. I love it.
They met her at the station. Ain't that good news?
That's good news. It's good news to have you on the show this evening, Congressman. Wonderful information. Love the job you're doing. Please continue to do the good work that you're doing in Washington, D.C. and right here in the state of Illinois. Our community, our young people, our older people, our state, our country needs someone like you to support them and represent them more than anything in this world at this particular time. So I congratulate you in advance on your reelection. I just feel it in my bones that you'll be reelected to Congress again. And tell me, Congressman, how many terms would that be in Washington now?
That I've done, this will be 12 terms.
12 terms. So you're doing
But
something.
you know, there are people who've been there 20 terms. And you see, seniority very quickly is very important in legislative bodies because you kind of keep turning over. And whoever have the most seniority generally will have the most influence in the process. For example, the chairman of the committee I serve on has been on that committee longer than anybody else there.
Okay.
The number 2 person has been on that committee longer than anybody except the number 1 person.
Okay.
And then number 3 right on down the line. So whoever these people are who are promoting something different than that, they just don't understand how the process works.
Yes. Yeah.
If you're the last in, you're the last person that get a chance to say a word.
Exactly.
Or you're the last person to get a chance to ask a question.
Well,
Or you're the last person that gets what's left.
Well, congratulations to you again. I look forward to seeing you and supporting you in Washington, D.C. on your 13th term. Congratulations, sir.
absolutely. We already call it the VICTORY. Victory shall be yours. I do believe it, and I want you to receive it.
Well, I thank you so much, and I love that song too. Victory is mine.
Yes.
I told Satan, get thee behind.
Yes.
A victory is mine.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it too. Well, congratulations in advance from me, Mathell Givens. And I just want to say, I look forward to interviewing you again. Once the victory is done, I'm looking forward to having you back and you come back and share more good news and give some more wisdom out to all of our good news listeners.
Well, thank you very much. I have been just thrilled to death to be on this very informative show and great opportunity. God bless you both.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. All right. Everybody, listen, that was Congressman Danny Davis. And if you live in his area, District 7, then we want you to make sure you vote. Get out there and vote. You've heard him talk. Most of everybody knows him. I don't know anybody that don't know him. And if there is somebody need to tell them about him.
Exactly.
And so he's definitely someone that everybody should know. And I say he's a man of excellence. And to me, he's an angel in my life. And I have to say that from my heart because honest, when I was in one of my rough times of life, I was able to call on Congressman Danny Davis, and he was so gracious, and he was just so compassionate to me as a mother. And I was in trouble with all three of my sons, and he was there to comfort me until he could get me in the right hands. And I thank you. My heart is always going out to you, Congressman Danny Davis. You're always embedded in my heart forever, and my children. So just want you to know that we love you, and we love you to life.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. So This has been the Good News Show, everybody. Hey, we're getting ready to bring it on home. Co-host, I want to thank you. Oh my God.
Right.
It's been a joy to have everybody. The co-host tonight was Julian Alexander. Hey, Julian. All right.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's been something about tonight, everybody. Woo! I'm telling you. How blessed. I feel so blessed to have had Congressman Danny Davis. Something about tonight.
Yeah. Thank you.
Welcome, you're welcome. Something about tonight. Oh my. If old Van, the man, was here, he would be like, something about tonight. Something about tonight. If I could sing it like Van the Man, I would. But listen, all of you down in Carbondale, Illinois, Van the Man, my son, Van Ike, is running for state representative in that area. So if you're down in that area, make sure you know what to do, because Tuesday is coming and he's counting on you. Love you all. Hey, I'm your girl, Mathell Gibbons, host of the Good News Show. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Make sure you get out and vote.
That's right. All right, everybody, do what you know to do, especially if you live in the 7th District over in Chicago. Hey, you know who? Annie K. Davis. That's the name. Put that down deep inside of you. Good night, everybody.